This is Minister Kujanga Elias Shea. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, the city named after the first enslaver. Today is February the 2nd, 2021, year of our Lord. In 2016, I went to the United Nations with my wife and a contingent of other people from Israel and around the world for the Indigenous Peoples Permanent Forum. This is a picture of us at the United Nations in 2016. I raised my hands to the heavens, and I prophesied that if we did not get our reparations, that a great evil would hit the whole world, all the nations. That was 2016. In 2019, early 2020, the pandemic hit, COVID-19. And that was the fulfillment of the prophecy. Now we went and done the souls to the polls. We've got President Biden in office now. He's now elected. And Kamala Harris is the vice president. But even though we've done the souls to the polls, we've done to the voting, we do understand that you cannot reform poison. You cannot reform evil. And the Federal Reserve Bank and the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, those are evil institutions. And those institutions are domiciled in Washington, D.C. The Federal Reserve Bank is right down the street from the White House in Washington, D.C. And we must have economic disobedience. That's going to be the next step. During the abolitionist movement, to get the chains off of people's wrists and the shackles and fetters off of them, they had a campaign called the Underground Railroad. And this being Black History Month, quote unquote black, although we're black, we're Indian, red, we're white, we're European, we're all mixed up together, but predominantly black in the sense of being Hebrew Israelites and Africans. We, in Black History Month, know that chattel slavery was ended because of a civil war. And the Civil War was started by freed, enslaved people who ran away on the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman was one of the main conductors. And then there were many other people that were involved in that, too many to name. You can read the history books. We got the chains off of people. Then the civil rights movement, we had civil disobedience. People marched. They sat in at lunch counters. They rode buses in the South. The buses were bombed and burned. But civil disobedience under Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement got us the franchise, the right to have the souls to the polls, the right to vote. And the civil rights movement was a complete success, even as the abolitionist movement was before it. Now we need our economic rights. We need an economic rights movement. And I prophesied that something evil was going to hit the United States of America and all the nations in 2016, and now it's here. And the Biden administration will not be able to get us completely clear of the plagues that will befall America and the world because they have not done right by the Most High's people, God's people, Yahweh's people in the Hebrew, Allah's people in the Arabic language, Ra's people in the Kemite language. Whatever beautiful name you use for the Almighty, the universe, the supreme being who created all things, whatever name you use, the Almighty has brought these plagues upon the world. He's used the evil people who let these plagues go. He let them do it. He didn't stop them from doing it. He didn't actually bring it himself. The people did it, but he let them do it. He allowed them to do it because in Revelations, in the Bible, Revelations chapter 6, in Revelations, it talks about the pale horse and the rider. And in the Holy Bible, you can read chapter 6, verses 7 and 8, and it tells you about Yahshua the Messiah, the blessed Messiah, Jesus the Christ in English, as he opened the book. The book is man, and he's unleashed man or unsealed man upon himself. Thus the plagues. So the next step, people call me and ask me, well, Ambassador Ashe, what's the next step? You've petitioned Obama, you've petitioned Hillary Clinton, you've petitioned the former administration, who will remain nameless, and now you're petitioning the Biden administration and the Harris administration. What's the next step? The next step is economic disobedience, not civil disobedience, because we've already got our civil rights, but we need our economic rights. We don't have the money and the funding to go to the big colleges. We don't have the money and the funding to get our lands back, our ancestral lands, our homesteads back. We don't have the money and the funding to pay off all of our mortgages and car notes and credit card debts and student loan debts. So either everybody's going to have money or nobody's going to have money. We're going to make money obsolete. Now, economic disobedience has already been started by a group of people who are fighting Wall Street. They invested in the GameStop stocks, and the hedge fund managers have lost billions of dollars. So what they did, they changed the game. Once again, you cannot reform poison, and it's their game. So they killed the company that was letting them invest the money. You had a lot of little people investing money, and they took and turned Wall Street on its head with one or two stocks, primarily GameStop. But what has happened is that they've killed the company that was letting them do that. These people were practicing economic disobedience. But what they were doing, they were trying to do it through the system. And once again, you cannot reform evil. You cannot reform poison. The system is going to have to be destroyed. As many of our leaders and rulers have said, many years, the system is going to have to be destroyed. The system of Monopoly Finance Capitalism, which is a privately owned institution. The World Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, the International Monetary Fund, even the Bank for International Settlements. All of those are privately owned institutions. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat, they're not Green Party. They have no political affiliation other than to rule all of the nations. They cause wars. And either you're going to have a system where these one percenters who own these institutions run everything as they are now. They own the means of production, the means of distribution. They own the farms, the factories, in other words, the airplanes, the trains, the trucks. They own all of that, and the stores. And they do this through their banks and their big insurance companies. And we are fighting these people. I've been fighting them for years. Now we're knocking on the door, banging and kicking on the door at them. We finally got to this point. Either they're going to continue to control us, and we're going to continue to be modern-day economic slaves, or else we're going to be free. We need a biblical communalistic system, socialism, communism, biblical communalism, whatever you want to call it. Either 1% of the people own everything, or all the people own everything. Which do you want? If you're like those idiots that invaded the Capitol the other day, talking about they don't want socialism, they want their country back, then what's happening with them is that these people have been brainwashed. They're spiritually dead, as that Revelation chapter 6, verses 7 and 8 talks about. In the esoteric, they're spiritually dead. And there's nothing we can do to awake those people. 70 million people voted for the former administration to stay in. 80 million people or so voted for the new administration, the Biden-Harris administration. They're letting the kids go out of the prison camps in Mexico. They're reuniting the children with the families. They're reversing all of the former administration's executive orders. That's a wonderful, beautiful thing. That's beautiful. And we did that with our vote, with our franchise, the souls to the polls. But at the same time, we've got to get them to give us our reparations for all people. We've got to make sure that they give us freedom for all of our political prisoners, black, brown, and red. And we've got to make sure that we get an end to homelessness. If you want to end systemic racism, President Biden, you've got to start at the top. Those three issues will begin to end and speak to systematic racism. These are the things that we have to do, family. This is Minister Kujenga Eliashe. Next time you see me on video, we will probably be in front of the World Bank and the Federal Reserve Bank in Washington, D.C., playing the horn. But you can do all of this online. We can begin to charge them up and cut them up, max them out and wax them out, which I'll tell you more about, online. We don't have to have any more marches, no more mass marches where they can shoot us down or arrest us and put us in jail. We have the tools now to fight this evil system on our computers and online, and we're going to use them. That's the next step. When will that happen? When the Most High gives me the call, I will tell you about it, and we will begin. This is Minister Kujenga Eliashe, Ambassador, signing off in Columbus, Ohio. May the Most High bless you all.